Welcome to Psychic Holistic Spotlight. I'm your host, Josie Way, and tonight with me are co-hosts, Bill Hannon, Kathy Medeiros, and Ken Demers. We are our own guests here. The change of season is occurring. By the time you see it, it'll be the next change of season. So maybe we'll talk about both changes right now. We're going into summer, and there are things that we can all do to improve our health and take advantage of seasonally, like exercise and activities, and also precautions if you're not in the best of health, and how to modify your exercise and activities. We have a lot of herbs coming into season now that are excellent. I thought we might discuss basics and then go to more specific with herbs. And the next season will be fall. Both of these seasons have allergy issues. And issues for people with asthma and respiratory complications. Mm-hmm. And there are a lot of good herbs that can open the passageways and soothe all these systems. Mm. Now, I know I'm exercise deficient. There's no other way to put it.
Right.
I'm challenged.
You're not alone.
But I do go to a gym when I exercise. But this time of year, going outdoors is like so much better if you go early. Mm-hmm. If you go early, dawn and dusk are the best times
to feed the mosquitoes.
To go without getting burnt, and you can practice running with the bunnies. I'd love to see that. You have bunnies at your house, too.
Yeah. Wild ones, domestic ones.
Yeah, I agree. The dusk and dawn is the best time, so
quick.
it's not so humid.
Yeah, because it's not so humid, and you get the good fresh smell. Mm-hmm. You get the wet feet from in the mornings.
Well, that's why you wear shoes when you're outside, right?
Yes, you don't do the barefoot.
Yesterday I was reading an article about people down in Florida building fountains and like mini waterfalls in their yards because the soothing sound of moving water tends to de-stress people. Mm-hmm. In Rhode Island, where we live, I would suggest people go down Connecticut Point. It's panoramic views of the bay, the sand, ultra pleasant. And we've got places like Lincoln Woods, Garden Park,
Falls.
Whatever, just anywhere in the woods, and there's lots and lots of little streams. Just go in, and sit down, and de-stress.
You can even put some exercise in and hike.
And take Bill with you and pick mushrooms on the way.
You can do that. You can definitely hike along a lot of these waters, though, too, though. It doesn't have to be high.
Speaking about mushrooms, Bill, what have we got that's sprouting this time of year around here?
Well, right now we're talking mid-June, and right now the reishi mushroom, you're talking about before improving the respiratory health. That's one of the specifics for a reishi mushroom. Of course, it's not the type of mushroom you can eat because it's a very woody, and it's very hard to get the reishi oil out of the. I showed you some pictures before the show. People can look it up on the internet. It's got like a varnishy, red varnish top.
R-E-I-S-H-I.
Correct.
And they grow on the side of trees.
Yes, or specifically hemlock trees. That's where you'll find them the most. There are varieties of reishi mushrooms, painted conch and things like that grow on other hardwoods. But Tsugae, Tsugae, is the mushrooms I showed you pictures of before. It's also called the red varnish mushroom. You can see how glossy the top of the mushrooms
And why
are.
do we want to pick them and extract their
Well,
essence?
we bring them to someone who can extract their essence.
Right, the
It's
two
very
ways-
hard to do.
Right, it is hard to do. There's basically two ways you can do it.
Why do we do that, though?
Because the oils in the mushroom, before they come through the body of the mushroom and create the spores and then basically spread through the winds, it's the oil that has the beneficial healing effects. And it's really
What are the beneficial healing effects? That's what I'm trying to-
almost every body system gets benefit from the reishi mushroom. It's fantastic for respiratory issues. It's great for circulatory issues. It's great for the endocrine and glandular system. It's great for the lymphatic system. There's really no system in the body that does not derive a benefit.
What was the next to the last one? Angelic something?
Endocrine glandular system?
Oh, the
Endocrine.
glands.
Yes.
Okay.
Right. It improves the communication between the glands. And so this is how, your pituitary and your pineal glands, they communicate with the thyroid, and the thyroid communicates with the other organs within your system. This is a great communicator because of the healing effects of the reishi oil. And this is not just some stuff that's old folks' tales or anything like that. I mean, this is
Documented
Proven stuff.
research.
this is something that really surprised me, that the reishi mushroom is the most studied plant on the planet in the last 50 years. That means all these universities, all these worldwide studies, and the benefit of having the reishi mushrooms.
Now, why do they study the reishi mushrooms so much versus the other kinds?
Because folklore from Asia talked about the reishi mushroom having so many beneficial effects that they decided to start actually studying it to prove it or disprove
Disprove
it. Exactly. And so this is one of the ones that I harvest, and there's two ways of getting the oil out. One is through you can do it with heat or cold. Over in Asia, the most prominent way that they do it is they freeze the mushrooms at sub-zero temperatures, and then they hit it with sound waves to break the crystallized oil. And then they bring it back up to temperature, and the oil just flows from the cracked spores. And the other way to do it, which most Americans do, or most people throughout the world that don't have access to that type of technology, you use a pressure cooker. And the pressure cooker, the pressure causes the spores to burst. And that right there is the reason why
So the oil is in the spores, which is basically a seed.
the oil is in the spores, which is underneath the glossy red, thick part, the cap of the mushroom.
That's basically a seed.
That's right. It is. That's where most of the oil is. Right. Exactly in the top part of the mushroom. And I use two methods to do it. I use the water method to soften the mushroom and to crack the spore, but then I also use alcohol, and the alcohol breaks down the oils and flushes the oils from the material, and now you combine the alcohol to the water.
You soak the mushroom in the oil to make like a tincture and then extract it from there?
No, basically you start off with the water. You put it in the pressure cooker. You cover it with water. You bring it up to temperature, basically like 80 psi. And then what you do is you let it run its cycle, but it's about half an hour. And then you take that and you pour the water off. I stick it in the fridge. And then what you do is you use the alcohol, because the spores have been softened and broken by the first procedure. Now you use the alcohol to dissolve the oil and flush it from the material that's already been softened. You pour that off, I use a press. I get everything out of the mushroom that I can. Then I combine the water with the alcohol, and now you have your extract. Everything that's in the plant that's beneficial.
And the alcohol also acts as a preservative.
Correct, right. And I bring it up to about 30% alcohol.
How do people take it?
Take it, depending on what your condition is, but most people who use it for health maintenance take about like a teaspoon once or twice a day. I mean, it's not, and it really doesn't have a bad taste to it either.
Now, the big thing nowadays is the Alzheimer's. Has anybody done anything with that?
Well, actually, there's another mushroom that's beneficial for that, and again, it's been documented to be very helpful for the nerves, and that is the lion's mane mushroom.
Lion's mane.
Lion's mane. If you picture a lion with his big mane, you know, the mane.
Okay, where do they grow?
They actually grow here in Rhode Island. They're very sparse, but a lot of the companies are growing them. There's several mushroom companies.
Commercially.
Correct, and the nice thing about it, it's a gourmet mushroom. So the thing is that what's happened is now this gourmet mushroom, people have been using it because it tastes so good, but then they realize that it's helped their digestion. And then they started doing research on it, and they found secondary, it's one of the 5 best mushrooms for cancer treatments. And then, because they've been using for all that, they started noticing people that had nerve issues such as neuropathy and MS, Parkinson's, anything along that line. Actually, it's been documented to actually repair the myelin sheathing around the nerves themselves. So you're less likely to have short-circuiting of the nervous system. So the lion's mane mushroom is very beneficial for that.
Yeah, where does somebody find something like that?
Well, again, there's a company down in Westerly. There's one down in Wakefield. I know there's probably
What
3 or
do they
4
grow
throughout the
on?
state. They actually grow. It grows on hardwood trees out in the wild. I've seen pictures of them, and they are gorgeous, gorgeous looking mushrooms. It's a gourmet mushroom. It's one of the best tasting mushrooms, best textured mushrooms. It isn't like, you know, a mushroom that people don't like mushrooms because of the texture of it. It's a very meaty mushroom. But yeah, it's just a good all-around mushroom to make use of. And again, you can buy it right down. In fact, farmers markets.
They have it there.
Yeah.
So if we go someplace and buy a little lion's mane mushroom and we take it home and
Yeah.
find an oak tree
Oh, so you want to
and
use
nail
the
it to the
spore?
oak tree or something? I don't know.
Well, what I would probably do is I would
Colony.
take and I would slice up the mushroom. I would,
And eat it.
and put it with butter and nice pan fry it, and maybe with the eggs or with steak or something like that. But what's really nice about it is all the shards of the mushrooms and stuff like that. Take it out to a tree that's dying or just about dead, that hasn't had too many other colonies of mushrooms already establishing themselves on it, and try to seed it that way by, you know, putting these shards of mushrooms that from cutting it on a cutting board, and just hopefully
They'll take
the
them.
spore will
Do
take.
you want the outside skin of it or?
No,
I don't-
well, just the pieces left over that you know, rather than using. It's not cheap mushroom. You know, they're growing them. You know, they're producing them for you. But I mean, they range in size from, you know, this size to this size. I mean, you know, they out in the wild they can get over 5-6 pounds. You know, they're very and they're gorgeous. I mean, you know, Ryan Bouchard has a a calendar that he produced maybe about 4 years ago.
These are the gentlemen that were husband
Yes,
and
we
wife.
actually had them on the
Yes.
show about
Yeah.
2 years ago. Right, right. Well, Ryan has a calendar, and on the picture, the cover of the first calendar, he has a picture about this big of this gorgeous lion's mane mushroom that he found out in the wild. And it's great.
He adopted it and gave it a name. They loved his mushrooms so much. I'm sure he has pet mushrooms that he's seeded.
Yeah. Yeah, so, I mean, but that's just one of the things. I mean, right now, this time of the year being spring, most people are looking along with spring cleaning where they live and their
Yeah.
homes and whatnot. A lot of people are doing spring cleaning for their systems, such as maybe mixing vinegar and honey and drinking that on a daily basis.
I just bought bees,
Bees, you had a ticket. Very good. That's great.
a bunch of them, actually.
What-
How many hives?
what
Or how many
variety?
queens? How many sets?
Just one.
One. Yeah. Okay. Good.
How many?
Do you know what species?
What's its name? Species?
Bees,
Oh heavens.
European bees.
Oh, European. Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
You're not African?
No,
No,
they're too friendly.
not Australian.
Nope.
'Cause I know some Australian ones in a Pennsylvania orchard.
Oh, really?
Australian bees.
Yes.
Okay.
Apparently they're more aggressive
Oh, okay.
than what he had before.
So do you have the honeycomb set up and everything for the bees?
No, it's actually just a sheet. It's almost paper thin, and the bees have to build it
They
out.
build their own.
Oh, okay.
You've got to feed them sugar and water till they build out their thing, so
okay.
they get productive. But
They're busy little workers.
How long does that normally take?
Season.
Oh, really? Just one season?
hopefully by this fall they'll be ready to be self-sustaining. 3 pounds of bees is about 10,000 bees.
Wow. That
Wow.
many, huh?
And of course, well, to set up the whole hive and the whole bit is pushing $600-700.
Really? Wow, I didn't think that.
Yeah.
Is that expensive?
Everything
Yeah.
is, you know,
Yeah, it's a
Yeah,
science.
everything's set up, yeah.
it's not. If you buy I bought everything just to simplify the process.
Sure, sure.
Like the box that they go in, that's $100-something, and then the little shelves
slots,
that
yeah.
Sure,
they
sure.
walk around
Yeah.
on. And
Is it an expendable system? We can add more of them?
yeah, you put another box on them,
Okay.
but you have to wait until they build out
The first one.
the existing bottom hives boxes, and when they've been built out with the honeycomb, then you put another one on top of that. And basically, the 2 bottom boxes are for the bees, and the top box is for you.
Oh,
So I don't anticipate getting any honey this year, but potentially next year.
Oh, so you
As
will
long as I don't
instruct
they're
Fill them
tithing to us.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But they make
anyway,
the honey basically to get themselves through the winter.
yeah. The 2 bottom hives are theirs.
Right.
Yeah.
Very cool
Yeah, that's good.
to know.
Yeah.
You were mentioning some herbs earlier that are like St. John's wort, which
Yeah.
many people know is good for depression, but it also has other characteristics and qualities.
Yes, yes. It's a flower that's just starting to bloom right now.
Is it wild in this area?
Yes, yeah, it's all over the place. It's distributed throughout the state, all through New England. The stalks are about 2.5 feet tall, roughly, and they got little yellow flowers on the top, 4 petals to each flower. And
Looks almost like a daisy.
no, it looks more like a impatient.
A clover, maybe?
small-
Oh, only yellow?
Impatient having a small flower, and it's just on the end of a stalk. Right, but this is a individual stalk. But the thing is that one flower, it just keeps pushing out more and more flowers. You could have, 20 flowers on the top of one flower,
Now,
one
Does-
stalk.
what part of the plant are you using
Well,
to?
I'm using the the petals. The petals,
Oh, the
are
petals.
the yellow petals. And when you pick them, as I was joking before, you spend a few hours picking them. There's a cyan, a redness tint that comes from the yellow flower. And your fingers are red. Your fingertips are red for 4 or 5 days. I mean, it's literally stained. You know, you can't just wash
Yeah.
it off. But the thing is also very interesting is you take the flowers, whether you dry them, which you probably should at least for a day or two, even though they may not be fully dried, and you put them in an oil, a lightweight oil like a sunflower oil.
Is safflower good?
Well,
Or it's too heavy?
safflower, no, safflower, you don't want to use something like, well, I shouldn't say you don't want to. There may be a reason why you would rather use an olive oil, but, you know, a lightweight oil is really avocado oil, something like that, that has lasts a long time.
Do you eat this stuff?
You can actually take it and put it on your salad. You can actually,
Where I take my granddaughter for horseback riding,
yes.
their arena is like 60, 70 foot across and then 100 and something foot the other way. And about this tall, all down both sides of it is these yellow flowers, which I'm assuming maybe,
It's a good possibility. They like disturbed soil. They like poor quality soil.
it's very sandy.
Yes, sandy soil, right, gravelly soil. Yeah, they grow. They're very opportunistic, you know. But
I had
they-
no idea what they were.
Right. Well, again, send me a picture if you want.
There's one type of yellow flower called the wallflower that likes to hide itself in undisturbed places, you know, on the edges of everything. That's where it got its name. But there's another flower that's coming up soon, echinacea, that will be blooming.
Right, right.
Within from 4 weeks.
Purple coneflower, right?
Yeah.
July, August. Those right there, you probably want to use the roots of it more
Yeah.
than anything else. But the thing, going back to the St. John's wort, is that it's very beneficial for your nervous system.
Yes.
That's why, you know, people find it beneficial for depression, mild depression. You know, it's nothing that, you know.
Not the major depression.
Major depression, right, exactly. But, you know, in fact, it's so effective that they do not want you using any type of St. John's wort type of product if you're on medication for depression, because it can really amplify the effects of the medicine.
So can you take these flowers and eat them? Or
Yeah, you can. Yeah, absolutely. People take them, put them on their salads. There's one animal that apparently has a negative side effect if they eat too much of it, and they may actually grow a lot of pastures, and that's actually cows. If they eat too much of it, it makes their skin very sensitive to sunburn. And they were concerned that it may mimic that way also in people, but apparently that is not a trait that's transferable.
the horses don't eat it.
Yeah.
I mean, they eat
They're happy.
any grass available to them, but this stuff is like right there. And
But the nice
I've
thing
never
about
seen
it is the cyan, the red quality, the oil that you make, the oil turns very red.
and what do you do with it?
The oil is usually used topically. Somebody that might have neuropathy with diabetes or something like that, it's really good because it's a lightweight oil. It doesn't stain. It helps the skin stay moisturized, but also the qualities of the St. John's wort help the nerves in the legs or the hands or whatever.
I thought you said
What
when you
about carpal
touched it,
tunnel?
it made your hands red.
Yes, the cyan
But
quality.
you're
of
saying you can rub it on your thing and it doesn't stain. They're not staining red?
No, it's reddish. It's absorbed by the skin, but if you have clothes or something like that, it's less likely to stain.
Oh, okay.
If you brush up against it or your pants cover it or whatever. There are some plants that are really very pigment orientated that they actually use for dyes in cloth and stuff like that. But this is not one of the ones that's used for that often because it's a light quality.
It comes out light
Yeah.
If we were gonna
in dyeing.
do a home craft project and we wanted to dye something, what would we use?
There are plants, and I'm not that familiar with that, although there's several people in the Rhode Island herbal community that really do a lot with that. It's more like roots, something that there's usually...
Burdock?
Burdock, not so much burdock, as something that might be high in berberine. I was just watching Andrew Leisman yesterday on TV, and he was talking about how berberine is very beneficial for helping sugars get through the cellular walls, and it's helpful for diabetics. Berberine is something that you would find in Oregon grapefruit or Solomon seal. These are roots that have a very yellow, you pull them up and they're very yellow. Barberry, a lot of times if you pulling barberry out when you're clearing a field or something like that, golden colored roots. You dry them, you shave them, you use them in your medium to dissolve, and then you use that for dyeing cloth.
Now, today I was pulling out bittersweet. That's by the roots.
Right.
And they're yellow, but
Yes.
I strongly suspect they're not good for anything.
Well, actually, they're finding out that this is one of they're so tenacious, but they are beneficial for, again, fighting cancer.
Bittersweet?
Bittersweet, the root. It has to be processed a certain way, but they are finding that that actually is showing to have some benefits for helping mitigate the growth of cancer cells, the tumors. The autogenesis, where your body is, the cancer cells are grabbing and creating blood circulation to the tumor to grow. It inhibits that. Yes. Well, hold on a second.
We're almost out of time.
Well, I was going to ask Kathy what she's doing for a change of seasons.
If we have enough time, we'll get into that. So we're almost out of time, though. Well, I just like being out more. The dandelions coming out now too, just all over my yard.
Right.
Dandelions is a very hard worker.
Yeah.
Every single part of that plant does something good for you.
Does absolutely,
Sure,
I puff a lot of them.
There's one good use for them.
I've made wine with the yellow heads.
Really?
Dandelion wine. And many songs about that.
That's good for high blood pressure though too, though.
Blood pressure because it works with both the liver and the kidneys.
I was going to say, and it works on the kidneys.
Right.
Yeah.
The leaves work with the kidneys and the roots work with the liver.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you have high blood pressure, if you can help the body, the liver clean itself and the kidneys clean themselves, it lowers your blood pressure.
Now, for those people that don't go hunting for these things in the field and pulling the dandelions and separating all the parts, where are there some good herb places that they can buy these things
I know
already prepared?
Frontier's a good website. What's the other one that's pretty good too? That I can't.
Rose
escape-
Mountain Herbs.
Yes, that's the other one.
That's the one I use most of the
Yeah.
time. There's also the Herb Wife right here in Rhode Island. She's at Belmont Market.
Yes.
And if she doesn't have something in stock, she can order it for you. Belmont Market in Wakefield, yeah.
Yeah, and she can give you pointers
Oh,
on the
yeah,
best
she
way to
can-
use everything.
Yeah, she's been doing it all her life, She's,
Yeah.
Yeah,
yeah.
I
Very,
know.
very-
She's been our guest a few times.
Yes, right. That's actually, going back a few years, but yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's so many things that are out there that we can just use, just looking in the backyard, for
I
the.
want to thank you all for joining us tonight. And please come back and see us again.
Okay,
Take care and have a lovely summer and fall.
And are we done? Not yet.
well,
No.
We're still
that's the
showing.
whole idea.